Hello, and this is John Brown, and welcome. We are going to go over the HTML5 tags, some of the tags, video, audio, canvas, and a whole slew more. So let's move on and find out exactly what is HTML5. So HTML5 is the latest version of the hypertext markup language. So it actually does three kinds of code. It's the HTML, which provides the structure. Then there's the CSS, cascading style sheets, and which takes care of the presentation. And then there's JavaScript that actually kind of makes things happen. So the HTML5 has been designed to, deliver almost everything you need to do online without requiring, software such as browser plugins. It does everything from animation to apps, music to movies. Can also build complicated applications that run in your browser. There's also it isn't proprietary, so you don't need to pay any fees or royalties, and it's also cross-platform, right? So it means that it doesn't care whether you're using a tablet or a notebook or if it's on a smart TV. Some of the cons that I found are some of the tags don't work in certain browsers. Mainly, I think it's Internet Explorer. There's a couple of the tags that don't work in there. So let's move on and find out a little bit about tags. Okay. So here's a list of the new HTML5 elements, the titles. So we got semantic structural elements, there's the form elements, attribute syntax, there's input, graphics, and media. So some of the semantic structural elements that you find here, there is probably about 15 or so. Some of them article, aside, their BDA, details. The nav and the fig caption is what we're going to do an example on. The nav defines the navigation links in the document, and then the fig caption defines the caption for the figure element. So let's go to what the fig caption, right? So let's start with fig caption. The fig caption um, is the purpose of the fig caption is to add visual explanation to an image. Um, the image element defines the image, but the fig caption element defines the actual picture. So here we have an example of the fig caption. So right here, as you can see, this here is the fig caption. This here can be your text within the document. And then if we take a look at the source, so here's the paragraph. This will be the text, but then when you do the image, you have your alt in case the picture doesn't show up. But here's the fig caption that it automatically aligns itself with the bottom. So that eliminates the need to do tables and right align, left align, center adjustment, all that. So this is a pretty neat new tag that HTML5 offers. Okay. So let's go back to the nav example. Okay. So the HTML nav defines a set of navigation links. So not all the links of the document should be inside the nav element. The nav element is really only for the major block of navigation links. You'll find these on the footers and the headers typically, and browsers such as screen readers can use the element to determine whether to admit the initial rendering of the content, if that makes any sense. So let's take a look at an example of the nav. So here we have a list of nav links, right? So for this purposes here, we have the nav page, the fig caption. So basically, this is technically this is your menu items, right? So instead of doing say graphical menu links and stuff like that, you can easily do these. And let's look at the code, and I'll explain that. So all you need is the nav tag, and then simply just put the href. Before you had to go through that whole long list of codes to make this work like this. This is very simple, clean. So like I said, these are really good for headers and footers. But here, as you note, the tag is not supported in Internet Explorer 8, an earlier version. So you should be up to date on your browsers, or this wouldn't work. Okay, so let's go take a look now at the form elements. So the form elements, there's three quick ones. So we have the data list and the keygen and the output. So the data list specifies a list of predefined options for the input, and users, these is where you usually see the drop-down lists of the predefined options as they input the data. And then the keygen element provides a secure way to authenticate users. So you typically you'll see the keygen in with PHP. It creates a when the form is submitted, two keys are generated. Usually one is private and one is public. The private key is usually stored locally, and the public key is sent to the server. So let us move on to the next. So we have the attribute syntax. So you have HTML5 allows for 4 different syntaxes, right? So you have these are the different syntaxes that are used in the input tag as described and shown here. So you can have you can actually disable it, right? So you can simply just add the value, unquote it. You can double quote them, and you can then single quote them. So there's different ways that you can use this attribute tag with the input. So here's the new input elements. Okay, so we have different types. We have the color, date, time, email, month, week. The input attributes, autocomplete, autofocus, form, and read only. We're going to do an example with read only, and I'm going to add an autofocus attribute. So let's take a look at an example for that. So we have read only. So here, as you see, 2 things happen here. One is you have the first line in a form that is only read only. As you can see, I can't type over that. And then also, if you notice, the autofocus is on the second line. So here is if there's a long crowded web page and you want them to go right to the registration form or a specific part on the form, you can have it autofocus on that particular form element. And then you can see here is here's where I have the autofocus. So you can put this this tag anywhere you need it inside the form very simply, and as you can see here in the first name, all you need to do is add the read only tag, and you can take care of that. So anywhere you want to put a read only, you can do that. Okay, so let us move on. So HTML5 also has some exciting 2 elements here, which are really the graphics elements. You have Canvas and you have SVG. For the SVG, we're going to do a scalable vectors graphics. The SVG stands for scalable vector graphics, and it's used to define the graphics for the web. So SVG has several methods for drawing paths, boxes, circles, text, and graphical images. So we're going to do an example here. And what we have here is we have 2 elements, right? We have a rectangle and a circle. Now, you can create these elements in any color, any shape. And let's take a look at these 2 examples here. So you use the rect for rectangle, you create the width and the height, and then here you have the style. So now you have style equals fill, and the fill will be this RGB color, and if you change these, the colors will change. And then the stroke width, that creates the kind of 3D effect, if you will. The width is that 10, and then the stroke is all 0, so you can change the stroke color as well. On the circle, if you look at this, you have the width and the height of the circle. Use the circle tag. The CX, CY, and R, the CX stands for the x-axis, Y for the y-axis, and then the R stands for the radius. So you could change all those dynamics of that shape simply by using that. And here's your stroke, and the stroke width, and then the fill. It's nice and clean and very simple. Okay. So last but not least, let's move on to the media elements. The media elements are really a really cool feature that HTML5 has now, because this is kind of where you don't need those plugins. So before, you would have to have it load in a media either a Windows Media Player or a Flash player. So you have audio, you have embed, source, track, video. Today we're going to do the audio example. So here's what the audio example looks for. So what we did was we have, as you can see, these loaded right away, and they're in a table. I put them in a table. And if you saw how quickly they loaded, they were there, and they played quickly. You can download them, but there was no need for that, that plug-in, right? So you didn't have to get that error message if you didn't have the right update, Flash update, or media browser, media element. So that is a very good feature that HTML5 adds. So that is what I have for you today. I hope that you learned a little bit more about HTML5. There is just so many more, so many new elements that are out there that it could literally take me about an hour to go through all of them. But I want to touch on a few of them. You can see how simpler and clean the code is utilizing these new HTML5 tags. So thank you very much, and have a good day.